Good morning, Year 4. It's Tuesday, the 19th of January 2021. Find a new page in your book and write down the long date, please, and the LO, which is to take notes on our reading. Pause the video while you're writing those down. So we're going to do a starter about how to use apostrophes today. There are two types of apostrophe, and the first one is a contraction. A contraction apostrophe shows that two words have been squashed together. For example, do not becomes don't. When we've got the two words together, we can see we've got do and then not. Now in don't, the O has been removed. And it's where the letter's been removed, that's where the apostrophe goes. It shows that some letters have been taken out. When you're looking at possessive apostrophes, they show that something belongs to somebody or someone. For example, Molly's hat. Now here, the apostrophe points to the owner. So in this case, it's Molly. Molly owns the hat. In this case, the lady's coats. We've got several ladies. So the apostrophe points after the S and shows that the ladies own the coats. What I want you to remember though is that apostrophes are never needed in a plural. When I mark your books, I see this a lot. So sometimes if we have the word cats, people will put an apostrophe in there to show that it's several cats, but we never need that. We only need apostrophes if we're contracting or if we're showing possession. Okay, let's have a look at some examples. Right, so here we've got some examples that we could use contraction apostrophes. So we usually use don't instead of do not. We just looked at that one. We'd be taking out the O, so the apostrophe would be going here. In would not, that becomes wouldn't. So we squash the words together, we take out the O, and the apostrophe would go there to show that that's gone. The same with could not, we squash them together, it becomes couldn't. We take out the O. It is becomes its. Take out the I, the apostrophe would go where the letter's been missing from. Is not becomes isn't. We squash the two words together, again we take out the O. And it's the same with these. Should have becomes should have, and we've taken out the H and A. Would have becomes would have. Taken those letters out, the apostrophe goes there. Could have becomes could have. Now some people think it's could have, but it's could have. It's could have, which has been squashed together. I am becomes I'm, and she is becomes she's. Again, you're taking out the letter. We're showing where the letter's been taken out with the apostrophe. Okay, here's your quick starter task then. I want you to put in some apostrophes. We've got three sentences here, and we've got contractions in all three of them. The first one is, it's such a lovely day, said the boys. Then, he's in year 4, isn't he? And then, the boy is looking for his ball. So, pause the video while you're trying to work out where the apostrophes go. There are 4 of them. And I will give you the answers in a second. Okay, here are the answers. So it is such a lovely day. You should have had an apostrophe there because that was a contraction of it is. He is in year 4, isn't he? Is not he? So again, we've got 2 contractions in this. There we go. And the boy is looking for his ball. The boy is looking for his ball. So the apostrophe should have gone there. Well done if you got those right. If you didn't, just correct them, preferably with a green pen or a different colour. Okay, you started a glossary yesterday, and I'd like you to just put 3 more words in there before we start reading any more of the story today. I've got 3 words I've picked out that you might not use very much. So the first one is lavish, which means luxurious. Then we have elaborate, which means richly decorated. And then reinstated, which means you're given back a job or position that you had before. So can you pause this and add those to your glossary? Remember, you need lots of space for the glossary because we're going to keep adding in throughout the next couple of weeks. Write those down now while you pause the video. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Remember, our LO today is about taking notes. So as I'm reading, it might be a really good idea for you to jot some things down that you think are important. So remember, when we're taking notes, we're picking out the important detail. I read a bit of this to you last time, but that's okay, we'll start again. So part 1, the boy king is dead, the falcon is flown to heaven. Tutankhamun was born at a time of change. His grandfather, Amenhotep, had governed with the influential Queen Tiye at his side, and together they ruled a great empire. When Amenhotep died, Tutankhamun's father, King Akhenaten, became pharaoh. At this time, Egypt was a rich and powerful country. However, by the end of Akhenaten's reign, almost everything was lost. Akhenaten married the beautiful Queen Nefertiti, and they had 6 cherished daughters together. Akhenaten loved his family dearly. We know this because archaeologists have uncovered pictures of him kissing and hugging his children. To create pictures like these was very unusual at the time. Now we're moving to the page that has the gods on it. King Akhenaten made some unpopular religious changes during his reign. It was these changes that would eventually lead to his downfall. Prior to his reign, the Egyptians worshipped many gods. The god Amun was one of the most important. However, Akhenaten became obsessed with one god, Aten, the sun disk. You can see that at the top. He rejected the old gods and closed their temples, which upset a lot of people, especially the priests. He moved the court to a new palace city called Akhenaten, which he had designed himself. Akhenaten also made everyone in the family change their names, so they ended with Aten, which means pleasing to Aten. Akhenaten's full name had been Amenhotep IV, so he then became Akhenaten. When a little boy was born to one of Akhenaten's lesser wives, pharaohs often had lots of wives, he was called Tutankhaten. It was this boy who would go on to succeed his father and become the famous Tutankhamun. Not much is known about Tutankhamun's mother. However, Tutankhamun's grandmother, Queen Tiye, probably played an important part in his life. A lock of her red hair, which he had kept in a tiny coffin-shaped box, was found in his tomb. Royal children were brought up by wet nurses, who were often members of court families. Nefertiti's wet nurse had married a very important official named Ai, who would later play a monumental role in Tutankhamun's life. Tutankhamun's own wet nurse was called Maya, and the bond between them must have been strong, because later he had an elaborate tomb made for her. Right, so we find out some important facts about Tutankhamun, the beginning of his life, from these 2 pages. So hopefully you've started to think about what's important and what's not. There's some interesting stuff on here, particularly about Tutankhamun's mother, who we thought, from looking at the family picture, was Nefertiti. It turns out that wasn't his mother, so those girls must have been his half-sisters. So here's some notes I've made reading that page. You can copy them down. What you need to do is leave space. Don't do this on the glossary page. Do it on a new page where you've written your LO and its notes. Okay, so you can put that as a subheading and then start writing down the notes. And you'll see the way I've done it is I've used bullet points. And each bullet point separates a different note. So I want you to start using those as well. It's a useful way of separating information so it stays neat. So we've got just 5 bullet points here. So the notes I've got from this page are: King Akhenaten had 6 daughters with Queen Nefertiti. He was obsessed with the sun god Aten and made everyone change their name to have Aten at the end. His lesser wife gave birth to a son, Tutankhaten. Queen Tiye, his grandmother, was very important to Tut, and he was buried with a lock of her hair. And Maya, his wet nurse, Tut's wet nurse, must have also been very special to him, as she had an elaborate tomb when she died. So you can use those notes you can pause this while you're writing them down. As a boy, Tutankhamun ran about naked. His hair was shaved except for one long tuft on the right, which was plaited. Now, you might want to take a note on that because it's a bit weird to think about boys running around looking like that today. But in Egyptian times, that was normal, and that was how children would have been dressed, or not dressed, as the case was, and would have had their hair. So you can make a note on that if you want to, or you could leave that out. The young prince played games like tug of war and jumping the goose, a sort of leapfrog, and owned balls and toys such as a pull-along cat whose mouth opened as it moved. Live pets such as cats, kittens, monkeys and birds like hoopoes were very popular with children too. The princesses, Tutankhamun's half-sisters, even kept pet gazelles. Now it's amazing that we know all this. I think this must have been, archaeologists must have used artefacts to discover all these facts about the family. So I've just got one bullet point to add to my notes from this page, and that is that the royal children had lots of fun together with exotic pets such as gazelles and monkeys. If you want to pick out anything else, like the things they were wearing, the hairstyle or the toys, you could add those notes as well. So just pause this while you're making notes about this page. Okay, on this page we find out more about royal life. As well as lots of toys and pets, the royal family had lavish meals and parties and owned magnificent barges, and you can see one of those in the picture below. So a barge is a boat, which they used for floating picnics. Princes in ancient Egypt were instructed in reading, writing and arithmetic. Sporting activities were also important. Shooting, rowing, swimming and handling horses and chariots were all part of a royal prince's education. So what do you think you should make notes on here? Well, we've got the word lavish. We put that in the glossary, didn't we? So it was a very luxurious life. You might mention that. You might mention the education that they had, perhaps the shooting, maybe the chariots, or the reading and writing, which is very similar to today. These are our core subjects, aren't they? English and maths. So you can make notes of your own, or you can use the notes I have here. So you're adding down, remember to put your bullet points in. So I've got 2 bullet points now. I've said royal life was luxurious and fun, and the prince learned lots, including shooting, riding, reading and writing. You can copy those or make your own notes. Pause this while you're doing it. This is our final bit of reading for today. Meanwhile, the state of Egypt was going from bad to worse. King Akhenaten did not want to leave his palace city, so it is believed that Queen Nefertiti and her eldest daughter, Princess Meriton, left Akhenaten to try and maintain royal power, possibly in Luxor or Memphis. However, after their departure from Akhenaten, nothing was heard of either of them. We're getting the idea now that there were some suspicious things going on, so nothing was heard. But mysterious. It has been suggested that Nefertiti governed herself for a while using the male name, I can't pronounce this, Smenkhkare, but no one knows for sure, so lots of mystery coming up now. What is certain is that within a short time, all members of the royal family were dead, except for young Tutankhamun. The country's finances, or money, were low, and Egypt's rivals, the Hittites, had extended their territory. That means the enemy Hittites were coming into Egypt and taking over. This is when Tutankhamun, a boy of around 9 years old, became king. Egypt hailed their new leader, and there you can see they're saying life, prosperity and health in this picture. And you can see the young Tutankhamun on the throne. So we're starting to get the idea that it's all a bit mysterious. I've made 3 notes for this page. You can copy them or you can add your own. My notes are, by the age of 9, Tut's family were all dead. The enemy Hittites were taking over Egypt. and the boy was made king. So just 3 bullet points, quite short notes on that one, you can copy. If you want to, you can add in some of the other information about Queen Nefertiti and her daughter. Again, pause while you're making the notes. Before we go any further, I want you to think about what it would be like to be told that you were king at the age of 9. Your family are all dead, and suddenly you are the king of a huge country. So just for fun, what 3 rules would you make as a 9-year-old king? Have a chat with someone if you've got somebody there. Let me know what your rules would be if you can, if you want to send in an email. Have a think now. What rules would you make as a 9-year-old king? Right, so you should have achieved a couple of things in this lesson. You should have a list of bullet point notes. These are biographical notes. They are notes about somebody's life. You should also have added 3 terms to your glossary. And of course, we've also done the apostrophe starter. So hopefully you've got lots written down for today. Now what I'd like you to do is close your book or turn over your piece of paper and try talking about Tutankhamun's childhood or family. I want you to tell someone, even if it's yourself, a minimum of 5 facts that you've learned today. Well done on finishing the lesson, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.